All right, well, thank you all so much. I just want to, before I introduce the panel of speakers today, just make you aware of a couple of announcements. So next Thursday, the Hudson Area Chamber of Commerce Foundation is having its first kickoff event, fundraiser event out at Bella Vines, and it'll be the first time that you could sign up with a donation to get some We Heart Hudson swag. So if any of you have seen that campaign, you're going to want a piece of that, and that'll be great fun. But the focus of the foundation is workforce development, and we all know how important that is. Who's looking for workers right now? Right? Okay, we can't find enough of them. So that is the focus of the foundation. So join us next Thursday at Bella Vines. On October 10th, as we already talked about, we have the Hudson Community Expo. We are excited to host that up at Hudson High School, and it's going to be from 11 to 3:30 p.m., and we're doing it in partnership with Coco's Heart Craft Sale. And so we're going to have children's activities, lots of food trucks, food vendors, a lot of booths, and puppies. Who doesn't love puppies? I mean, right? If you have puppies, you get people, right? I know, right? So that is from 11 to 3:30 at Hudson High School. You can skip the football games that day. They're not going to be any good anyway. And if you're a Vikings fan, you just get disappointed. So. Oh, I'm a Vikings fan, I know, but come on, how do you miss a 37-yard kick? All right. I know. I'm a diehard Vikings fan. Don't even ask Mr. Knutson back there, who somehow cheers for the Packers, and some Aaron Rodgers guy, who finally decided to show up to practice so he could make a touchdown. Okay, so, and then on October 13th, we're going to do Welcome to the Hudson orientation. So this is for all new members, but anyone interested in learning more about the chamber and how to get involved, I invite you to that. October 16th, again, an outdoor event, Hilltop Pumpkin Party up at YMCA Day Croy Camp from 11 to 2 with a pumpkin patch, horse drawing rides, a petting zoo. Always have animals, they bring people. Okay, and then we're going to kick off all of our holiday events. We're back with the 35th annual Hudson Christmas Tour of Homes event, Light Up Night on the 26th, Candlelight Stroll on the 3rd, and Santa and His Critters on December 4th. So if you want things to do, fill your calendar. We got them for you, all right? It's all going to be fun. And then last, I just want to put a plug in. We're trying to do our 3rd annual Buena Vista Lights in the Park. Had anyone seen those the last 2 years down in Lakefront Park? Yes. Do we love that? We love that, right? Okay, so we want to bring it back a 3rd year. We have opportunities for you to sponsor that. I know a lot of you would love to do that and get your name on the sponsor sign. I think Matt's thinking about that right now. So we have opportunities for that and would love to have you participate because we know how important that is in this community. All right, so we have a fabulous panel of speakers today. I'm going to invite them to come up front. They're each going to do a brief presentation, and then they will take questions. But I do invite you before that, maybe if you're going to stand in front of the rolls. So if anyone wants to grab another roll, please help yourself, and please have some more coffee or juice, whatever you need. We're kind of in a picnic feeling today. So our first speaker is going to be Hudson Police Jeff Williams. Jeff Williams is a law enforcement veteran who has served as a police officer in the state of Wisconsin since 2002. During his career, he has served as a police patrol officer, field training officer, crime prevention officer, detective sergeant, lieutenant, and police chief. His primary skills include problem community-oriented policing strategies, implementing organizational change, and public relations. And we are thrilled to note that he was sworn in as police chief here in Hudson in May of 2018. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Hudson Police Chief Jeff Williams.
Oh, Lance, don't ask me that.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to be here. Good to see a bunch of familiar faces and good to see some new faces, too. So I'll have to make sure that we connect at some point throughout the morning. So we at the Hudson Police Department are 29 sworn officers. We have 3 support staff, and then we have the parking enforcement utility kind of sort of underneath us as well. Basically, they share our space. So that's us in a nutshell. We did just get approved to hire a full-time position. We're calling it a community engagement officer. So that officer is going to be tasked with community engagement. All things community related, that officer is going to be doing, from our internship programs with college students to meet and greets, this kind of thing. Any events that are taking place that are sponsored either by the Chamber or the Lions Club or the Rotary or the city that take place on weekends, that officer is going to be front and center, right? So you are going to start seeing Officer Wildman is the officer that got that position. You are going to start seeing him probably coming into your businesses, trying to start to build some more of that relationship, because we all know what relationships can do, right? That's why we're all here, is building relationships. It's never been more important than today, especially in community safety and law enforcement relations. So that is kind of us in a nutshell. Our updates, really we're hiring. We've had a couple resignations and a couple retirements, so we're kind of short right now, but we're in the hiring process, so we're going to be hiring in the next probably 3 to 4 months, 4, maybe 5 officers. So you're going to see some new faces around town. Don't be afraid to say hi and wave with all 5 fingers.
Thanks for the tip.
Yeah, no problem. That's really about it. Just some public safety stuff. We've had a lot of car break-ins in people's driveways and whatnot. I just want to encourage everybody to light up their properties and lock them up. Lock your cars. Don't leave your purses and laptops on the front seat of your car. If you have to leave your car parked outside, it's probably a good idea to take the garage door opener inside with you, because one of the things we've seen lately is people will just check for unlocked cars and then they don't take anything but the garage door opener. Then they come back when you're at work and enter your home and burglarize it. So just a little tip that might help you out. Same goes for your businesses too. Turn lights on, make sure it's locked up. If you have the ability to do some security cameras, it's always good help. Alarm systems, right? Just anything to target harden your businesses and your homes is best. That's really all I've got. Are we doing questions now, or are we doing questions at a full circle after? Okay.
Never listened to me so. All right, a round of applause, please. Thank you. All right, great. Thank you so much. And now I'm thrilled to introduce North Hudson Police Chief Mark Rickard. And he has worked full-time for the Village of North Hudson since April of 2000 and promoted to chief in October of 2005. After college and law enforcement recruit school, he worked for Anderson Windows for about 1.5 years, while also working part-time for 3 different enforcement agencies: St. Croix County Sheriff's Office, Somerset Police Department, and North Hudson. Mark is a Hudson grad. Round of applause for that. And he made it, yes, and earned his bachelor's degree from UW La Crosse. And he enjoys landscape gardening and spending time playing cards with family and friends. A warm welcome to the North Hudson Police Chief.
Thank you very much. Good morning. So Jeff took a lot of the information that I was going to provide, just because we have similar communities in the fact that we've had a lot of car break-ins, and it's all been vehicles that have cars doors that are unlocked. So they're not smashing windows, they're not doing anything but trying to get the easy out. I guess a little update on our police department. We are 5 sworn. There's a chief, myself, a sergeant, and 3 patrol officers that work for the Village of North Hudson. We're a little bit of a different community in the fact that we're mostly residential. We don't have a ton of business. The businesses that we do have are typically the restaurant, bar establishments for the most part. So we're always looking to try to bring more business into the village and create those relationships. But we do have a couple of businesses that are vacant right now, with Mama Maria's unfortunately not being able to sustain. I understand that Seasons Tavern has a new owner, and so we'll see, or that building, we'll see what goes in there and try to support them as best we can. You may or may not know that there's construction going on in the village. It's the state's project. The biggest thing that we're trying to do is really trying to make it work for our residents and the flow through the village and whatnot. So we have monthly or weekly meetings on Monday mornings where we try to help try to work out that flow and whatnot. I can tell you that our suggestions don't always fall on open ears, and so they're running their program the way that they are, and we're just trying to make things work and make life happen. So it's, as I've been telling everybody, it's going to be great when it's done. If you've been on the parts that are actually completed between Monroe and Michelson in the Village of North Hudson, it's going to be a smooth ride. We're just hoping that we don't have any low-flying jets once things open up, because we think that people are really going to start flying through town. So we'll have a little bit of business for us to do at that point. And we've been, again, she mentioned I graduated from Hudson High School. Back in those days, I remember that North Hudson was always known for speed enforcement. And so we don't have maybe the reputation that we used to, but I think, everybody, if you go 1 mile over in North Hudson, you're going to get stopped. Well, that's not accurate, but we definitely like to slow people down and make sure they can look at our small community as they move through it. But I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. I don't have a lot more to offer as far as explanation. We're currently full staffed, which is something that we've been for almost 2 years now. We had about a 3-year gap where we were losing people. We'd hire them. They would realize law enforcement wasn't really for them. I'm glad that they learned that early on, because it is a career that sometimes can take a lot out of people, and they moved on to the private sector. But we've got a good group of people right now that are working for us, and if you do see them, as Jeff mentioned, make sure that you wave. It is kind of a running joke with law enforcement that it's always all 5 fingers. We don't always get that, but we understand that we don't make people happy all the time. So thank you for the opportunity to be here today.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker today is Hudson Police Chief Scott St. Martin. He was fire. I knew that. It says it right here.
The sun was in her eyes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
That's okay. Wish I could get his paycheck.
All right, we're going to move on with the fire chief, right? And he was named the full-time chief inspector of the Hudson Volunteer Fire Department in 2014. Prior to that, he spent 18 years with the St. Paul Fire Department before moving on to a position with the city's Department of Safety Inspections, where he did house and fire inspections and enforced code. He rose to the rank of captain with the fire department before leaving the inspector post. And when he was living in Delwood, Minnesota, he also served on the city council. So he's a native of St. Paul, attended Humboldt High School, and earned a marketing degree from St. Mary's University in Winona. Please join me in welcoming Fire Chief Scott St. Martin.
Thank you. It is an honor to be even considered to the ranks of the honorary police chief here, so thanks. I take it as a compliment, no. So a little bit about the fire department. We're a little different than the police department in that we cover 45 square miles. We cover the city, we cover the village of North Hudson, Hudson Township, and part of Troy. So we have roughly about 30,000 people we cover, and then the area. So we do that through contracts. So it's a city department that contracts with the other municipalities. So I like to think we have a good relationship, and I think we try to take advantage of efficiencies in doing that. And since I've been here, it's been really great working with Stan and everybody else. And we've moved forward in the fire department, but also try to do it as efficiently as we can by having just one department service everybody and try to cater to their needs. A good example is, I guess, that construction I didn't even know about, but working with Somerset Fire Department, they're responding now with us to anything on the other side of the bridge during the construction. So it's things like that. We try to work together with all our municipalities also. So that's where we're a little bit different than the other, but it's been a good relationship. Our department consists of my 3 full-time employees, myself, a fire inspector, and an admin. And so everybody else is paid on call. So we have 43 other firefighter members and officers. So the only time they get paid is they get a stipend if they come to a call or training. So it's a little bit different than a full-time police officer. So we talk about thanking people. Truly thank those firefighters, because they really are doing it for the community and kind of out of the goodness of their hearts. And without that commitment, we couldn't continue to operate as we do. So, I always say I'm paid to be here, so you don't really have to thank me. You thank me every 2 weeks, so I appreciate it, but really thank those firefighters when you see them in the community, because they really are, 24/7, 365, they're leaving their families to go do this for a part-time job. So make sure you thank them. What we do is kind of like all hazard rescue. we ice rescue, water rescue, of course, firefighting, accidents, hazmat, confined space, rope rescues. Believe it or not, we probably go to the park 4 to 5 times a year, last few years, for rope rescues. People get up into the park and we go out there and have to do rescues and do the ropes and all that and bring people down. So it's a lot more than just the fire part, and I think a lot of people don't maybe see that because they're not out at the park or wherever else. Again, car accidents, another with the freeway here and the highways, we are very busy with that. They do a lot of extrication. I think the biggest surprise to me was when I came to Hudson, I thought, well, it's going to be a little bit slower. They actually probably do more car extrications here than they do in St. Paul. And I feel they're probably better at it too. They really are good. It was interesting, eye-opening coming from a different agency. So I do appreciate that. What falls under us also is the dive team report to me. They've become part of, when we took on the dive team, we also then became part of Washington County dive team. So when you call the dive team right now, Hudson dive team in Washington County, you get a response from everybody. So if it's in Washington County or in Hudson, you're going to get a response. And part of that is it's hard to get enough people sometimes. This way they train together. You're going to get enough people who are used to working together and a response that's going to be satisfied to make it happen. And speaking of Washington County, it's another thing we do. We have a mutual aid contract with Washington County. So we can go over there and they can come over here. So typically if we have a bigger fire in the Hudson or the surrounding areas, you're going to see lower St. Croix Valley, maybe Bayport, even Stillwater, bigger events, Lake Elmo, and the same for us. So we really kind of cross the borders, which is unique, but that's, again, try the efficiency of resources. We have to all work together. No one department's big enough to handle a really big incident. So it's different in working that, especially across state lines. To get that took monumental task on both sides to do that, but it's great. So we have that along with the other communities locally we work with. So I guess that's a little more the uniqueness of what we may not understand about the fire department. So I can answer more questions later. As far as working together, I feel it's an honor, honestly, when I come to an event like this and I have a great working relationship with all these people. And I don't see them just here. I see them all the time. We talk all the time about what can we do for public safety in the city and the surrounding areas. So I think the advantage that we have and you have is all of us public safety people have a really good relationship, or at least I think so. Maybe the police chiefs talk behind my back. I don't know, but that's another possibility. And then one last thing, make sure you get your dryer vents cleaned. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And I think it's so encouraging to hear, as you've heard from the first speakers, about the collaboration and the partnership that they have within this community. It's, I have to say, it's refreshing and wonderful to hear. I knew it was here within your group, but it's just great that you talk about it. Thank you. Next, we have John Mueller. He is the Director of Operations Paramedic for Lakeview Hospital. John joined Lakeview Hospital EMS in March of 1988, where he certainly serves as Director of Operations. And Lakeview EMS provides services both in Minnesota and Wisconsin. And he possesses an extensive work background, including Coordinator of Emergency Preparedness at Lakeview Hospital, EMS Education Coordinator, and a number of things, as well as working with the Medical Resource Control Center at Regions Hospital. He also has an in-depth educational background. He earned his mini MBA and Emergency Medical Services at the University of St. Thomas, and a number of other educational things. It was really, it does, John. It's fabulous. So I'm just going to let you talk. And please join me in welcoming John Mueller.
Morning. Well, thanks for the opportunity to be here. I love to get out to the community and brag about what we do. So that's what I'm going to do. Again, we have a great operation, great support from our administration. Our ambulance service, we cover roughly 300 square miles. We do that very efficiently and very appropriate response times. We watch our response times every day, every single day. I log in and I check our response times. We follow up on anything that's extended, look into the circumstances into that. in our operation, we have 45 paramedics. That's all we employ are paramedics. 30 some of those are full-time, and then we have some part-time. All of our full-time paramedics are critical care certified as a paramedic. That is the highest level of pre-hospital training that you can get. We're very unique, I think, across the country that 911, a primary 911 ambulance service has critical care staffed paramedics 24/7 in their operation. Typically, you only see that in services that are doing interfacility transfers. But we support our health partner hospitals. So we support Lakeview Hospital, Hudson Hospital, Westfields. Those are 3 primary hospitals that we do transfers out of. So our paramedics are responsible for transferring a patient that has such a high acuity that they can't be handled in those facilities, and they need to go to a higher level of care. And the paramedics need to have that training to be able to handle those patients. So what that does for the community is their training is so extent in the critical care piece that they bring that to the 911 side. So they're very comfortable in seeing what they have to deal with every day. Within our operation, we have, last year we responded to over 10,000 calls. That's with 5 ambulances. So that our numbers continue to go up. We had a 30% increase last year from the year before, and a 30% increase this year from last year. So we're going to go over 11,000 calls this year. We started providing service to the communities over here in Wisconsin back in 2019, I think September of 2019. We started construction on a new ambulance base here in the city of Hudson on the Hudson Hospital campus, I think in October of 2019. And we moved into that space in March of last year. So our crews love it. It's a great space for our crews. We have 2 24-hour ambulances there daily, 365. So our crews come to Hudson, they start their shifts there, and the trucks are there until they go on a call. We do what's called the system status management, so to speak, and we always back up the other ambulances. So if the 2 Hudson ambulances go out on a call, one of our 2 ambulances in Stillwater move over here to cover the area. That is seamless. It happens behind the scenes. Nobody's even aware that happens. One of the things in EMS that we always look at is how often we give calls away to mutual aid. And that's kind of a sign to me and typical any EMS operation, if you're starting to give a certain number of calls away and your response times are creeping up, it's time to make some adjustments, to add some staffing. And we have not seen that. Our response times are well under the national average over here, actually in our whole operation, but over here as well. We knew going into it, adding those 2 ambulances here to Hudson were going to be sufficient to provide the service needed in this area. And then knowing our 2 trucks in Stillwater would be able to back up the Hudson trucks anytime they're out. So an example of that, just the response difference. Last year in 2020, Lakeview responded to over 600 mutual aid calls for other services, all around the metro and in Wisconsin. And in turn, we gave away 27 calls. So again, a very efficient operation. We're very proud of that. One of the things, new things that happened in 2020 is, again, our volume continued to increase. And as we went into 2021, that didn't drop off, and we can't blame it on COVID. We don't really know what the reason is, but really across the country, everyone's seeing that high volume. So it got to a point where our crews were starting to get burnt out. I mean, literally, dropping a patient off at the ER and going on another call. And we've never seen that before. So I went to our administration and just requested to add another ambulance into our operation. And that was approved, so we started that on August 1st. So we added a 6th ambulance into our operation from 3 in the afternoon to 11 at night. That's when we definitely see our peak. And it's been consistent like that. It just gets higher and higher each year. So we haven't filled all of those positions required for that, but we started that extra ambulance in August. It's open for overtime, and our staff can take those as they want it. So we're hoping to get those positions filled. I have one more spot to fill, and then that'll be on the road every day. There was something else I was going to tell you, but I think I'll end it there so the rest of the people can talk.
Thank you so much, John. Next, we're going to welcome Matt Brandt. He is the CEO of Hudson Physicians. He joined the organization in 2018. Previously, he was CEO of Multicare Associates, a private practice group owned by doctors and quite like Hudson Physicians. He is very passionate about generational health and sees that as an advantage to Hudson Physicians patients. Their providers encourage families to stick together when it comes to medical care so they can see the whole picture and proactively manage each person's health related to their family history. Please join me in welcoming Matt.
Thanks, Mary. I can tell that I didn't write that, so that was very nice. Very good. No, it's good. I was laughing because I think it was you have an officer named Officer Wildman? I want to meet him someday. I think that's a great name. Anyway, I'm Matt. I'm with Hudson Physicians. Hudson Physicians is a private practice group, so we're physician-owned. Nice thing about us, most of our doctors actually live in Hudson, so our owners truly are local owners. We have 48 different providers, so doctors, nurse practitioners. And this year we're going to crack 200,000 patient visits in a year. So we're going to be quite a big operation here in Hudson. So part of that is over the years we've been here, we've been over 40 years. Hudson itself has grown a lot, and we were started at 6 doctors back then, and we just keep growing with the community. So Hudson's in our name. We plan to be in Hudson for a while. So it's a very good group, very patient focused. So I've been proud to be there. I've been about 3 years now, so it's been great to be with them. A little bit, just kind of update on us. We are growing a lot, and I think we're talking a little bit about collaboration here. So I get a lot of questions. We're working on a new location here in Hudson, but I will want to mention that we do collaborate a lot with the hospital, and that our long-term goal is we still want to continue to work with the local hospital. So Hudson Hospital is our partner and will continue to be our partner long run. As we continue to grow through that practice, we'll keep working with them. So a great example is we are going to hit, 600 deliveries this year, Tom? 657. So you can see Hudson's growing, right? It keeps growing. So our doctors will continue to work at the hospital, continue to provide service there. So we do a lot of collaboration with them back and forth. And I would just give a general comment through this whole pandemic. One thing I'm really proud of here in the Hudson area is the collaboration amongst the hospitals and the clinics in the area. So River Falls, Amory, New Westfields, Hudson and I, and Tom and I, and here in Hudson, on the phone all the time, collaborating, working on different projects, trying to make sure we're getting patients moved around. So I think, honestly, Tom, you could probably talk about that a lot, but that's been really good. Western Wisconsin's kind of unique that way, that we all work together like that, so that's really nice. So the other thing I'd just kind of comment as it really at the end here, we have been very busy. Here in the hospital transports and ambulances being busy, one thing that's happened through COVID is a lot of people stopped doing their routine stuff. And I just continue to say, there's still bad stuff out there besides COVID, like cancer, other things. So I just make the comment that we're seeing more of those things than we used to. And so make sure you're taking care of yourself still. Don't stop doing that. So that's one of my big things. The other thing the other day is I was standing up by Tom's office just outside the door, and to the left is our urgent care. 50, 60 people standing there. And to the right is where we get the COVID shots, and there was one. So the solution to the left is to go on the right. And it would have been a great picture to take. But so I just advise everybody again, COVID shots every day are available, Monday through Friday. Stop in, we'll get you one. So thank you, Marie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Again, I'm thrilled to hear this collaboration partnership theme. Our final speaker today is Tom Borowski. He is president of the Hudson Hospital and Clinic. He has been there. He joined in 2017 serving as president. He also serves as the Hudson Hospital Foundation president. And then a fun fact, in 2018 and 2019, he was included in the 70 critical access hospitals CEOs to know. I know, by Becker's Hospital Review. So I find out all these fun things. So Tom has a great background. He worked with Mayo Clinic for quite a while, and so has a lot of experience in those areas, and holds a Master of Business Administration from the University of St. Thomas and a Bachelor of Business Administration from the University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire, and serves on a number of boards, and he and his wife have 3 children and stay very busy in the Valley area. Please join me in welcoming Tom.
Thank you, Mary Claire. Obviously, I didn't write that one either, so just as I'm looking around the room here, and of course, I have to follow the distinguished panel of presenters here. It reminds me, though, how fortunate we are. I mean, look at the caliber of talent that we have here in our community with law enforcement, fire, with Hudson Physicians and EMS. It's just it's an honor to serve with you, so appreciate that. Okay, so I want to provide a couple of updates regarding what's happening at Hudson Hospital and Clinic. First, I want to announce that we recently announced this in the Star Observer that we are expanding our primary care service offerings at Hudson Hospital and Clinic. To do that, we're relocating our rehab space from the first floor in the North Wing building, and that'll be moving up to the second floor. We've actually started that construction, and then what'll be happening is once that is completed in December, we'll actually start constructing a new primary care clinic. It'll be expanded and remodeled to build onto our internal medicine, and that'll be occurring then on the first floor. So effective March through May of next year. We think it'll be completed by May 2nd. We'll be actually then able to offer new expanded primary care service offerings at the hospital. And so the timeline will be May of next year. Location will be first floor right when you enter into the North Wing building. And so we're pretty excited about that. The other thing would be with I did write down some notes here. So in terms of recruitment, we are currently recruiting for family medicine physicians as well as other support service positions, a lot of openings like we're experiencing in businesses across the community here. And so if you know anybody who's looking for work, we're definitely hiring at the hospital. We're also hiring for, as I said, family medicine physicians, advanced practice providers, and other clinical leaders. So our growth and continued investments in primary and specialty care, of course, it remains a top priority for us at the hospital. I think it also highlights our commitment right now. We want to make sure that we can provide convenient care that's close to home, that's at one location with one bill, one medical record, and we want to make sure that we provide that in an integrated care delivery team. So that's kind of our goal right now, at least in terms of our strategic plan. Looking into the specialty care arena. So we have recently launched quite a few new expanded improved access to cardiology, nephrology, rheumatology. We also now have a pain clinic, and we also are looking at doing some expansion with our internal medicine programs. Dermatology, we launched a new dermatology practice here at Hudson Hospital and Clinic, and that's the first dermatology practice that we have now across Health Partners in the Valley. So that's an exciting thing. Also with access, we've extended our hours. We've added video visits. We've added mobile check-in. We've added online scheduling for enhanced access and hopefully a more convenient patient experience. In terms of our emergency center, we have our newly expanded and remodeled emergency center, which we're really proud of, and we raised a lot of money in the community to help fund that. We have our new behavioral health friendly rooms in the emergency department. When patients present with a clear behavioral health need, they're able to diagnose that and make sure that they get the appropriate care in the emergency department. We have what's called the Crisis Behavioral Health Televideo Program. Hudson Hospital is currently supporting 7 area hospitals with that program. It's been very popular. I was talking with both of our chiefs here about the impact that's had in the community. It actually cuts down on the trips that they have to make over to Appleton with some of the patients who might need some inpatient care. So that's an exciting thing. If we look at, in terms of who we have staffing the emergency department, we have level 1 trauma certified physicians. We're a level 4 trauma because of the size of our community. But think about that. We have level 1 trauma certified ED physicians. That's the highest level of training that you can get from an ED doc. Okay, so we're pretty proud of that. And then also with our accredited stroke program. So we have an accredited stroke readiness program, meaning that if anybody's presenting with stroke symptoms, we have accreditation, means that we'll provide the best care that's possible. And we're literally, I think, saving lives in the community because of that. So a lot of stuff going on at the hospital there. In terms of our other services, our inpatient area has been very busy with COVID and other types of inpatient cases. You look at the birth center, as Matt had mentioned, we're partnering with the OB-GYN practice at Hudson Physicians. We're on target for over 650 births in a community of this size. I think that's quite amazing. And then you look at our general surgery program, that's been quite busy. The other areas like our programs for change, which I've always considered to be just kind of a flagship service line in terms of people who have alcohol or chemical dependency problems. The other thing would be our lab, our imaging, our pharmacy. They've been very busy. Our orthopedics, our infusion center, our rehabilitation area, our procedural center. So everything's been very, very busy at the hospital, and we're just growing and really proud of that. I think it all comes back to the common denominator, which I would say is about the community, our commitment to serve the community. And I'd also say that in terms of our growth and expansion, we're here for the community, we're here because of the community, and that's why we exist as a nonprofit organization in the community. So that's not going to change. We're also looking at growing and expanding our current service lines, which I think kind of plays into that, as well as expanding different areas of the hospital. And we're also having ongoing recruitment and retention of people in the community, so being an employer as well. So a lot of fun things going on at the hospital. I think the takeaway here is, Matt had alluded to this, our partnerships are really what keep us strong, partnering with Hudson Physicians, partnering with law enforcement, fire, with EMS. There's just so many good partnerships in this community. That's what we're about. We're about the partnerships. We're here to serve the community, and we're not going anywhere. We've been here since the 1950s, so I want to give you that reassurance, and also just to say that, again, it's a pleasure to be here. I want to put a plug in again that we are expanding our services, so look for more information about that. And again, the big one would be our primary care services. So in closing, I just want to say it's about commitment, it's about community. That's what we're all about. That's not going to change my commitment to you, is that we'll always continue to try to serve and to strive to earn your trust as a healthcare provider in this community. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you so much to all of our speakers. And then I invite them to come forward. So who has a hot, burning question? I know there's a couple out there. Nancy.
What's the latest on people cutting out catalytic converters? I'm reading about that in the paper. Is it still a big problem?
Why don't you...
Yes. Yeah, no, that's a big problem, not only in Hudson and North Hudson, but around the metro areas. Daily, we're taking reports on theft from catalytic converters.
Put on your catalytic converters so that they couldn't get hit off easily. Is that available to be done?
I am not aware of anything, but if you have a good relationship with your vehicle service provider, maybe check with them. I'm not aware.
All right. There we go. Any other questions?
Come on.
I know.
For the fire chief, so I actually live in Stillwater, but I'm part of a watershed-wide organization. At what point, because Hudson is growing and so are the surrounding communities, at what point do you need a full-time staff instead of kind of the volunteers? Is that on your radar for the future, or where does that fit in?
Yeah, it's a good question. It comes up often, honestly. And really, it's a volume and really the dedication of our responders and firefighters. So it could be tomorrow because they could all decide they don't want to show up, or they're mad at me for some reason. I don't know. But really, that's truly it. The longer we can keep it, the more efficient it is. And the other thing is we have community members who are here, who are working here and are dedicated, who are business owners. And so that's the successful side in their private life. Public life, they're firefighters, but they have to be trained to the same level of, doesn't matter if it's Milwaukee, Eau Claire, or Hudson. and most of them have advanced training. In fact, some of our officers requirements are higher than the state standard, and then some career ones. So just because it's a part-time doesn't mean that they're less trained. In fact, I've found that our firefighters are probably more trained than the average, and more dedicated in a way. So the model works great, and it's highly professional, and the longer we can continue with that, I think the better for everybody, and continue the high level of service. So and hopefully we can do it for a long time, but I guess the short answer is I don't know.
Great question. Anyone else for today?
I have one.
Thank you.
It's actually for either one of you, the physicians or the. I was actually wondering. You listed a bunch of things. I was trying to soak it all in. Do you, for anything with rehabilitation or sports recovery, are you having anything inside the hospital, or are you outreaching to anyone?
That's a great question. I actually probably wasn't very clear. So we've had a long-standing tradition. We offer a full rehabilitation services there, physical therapy and such. What we're doing to make room for our primary care space in the medical office building is we're relocating the rehab to the second floor. We had some vacant space up there, taking over some other training rooms and conference rooms and things like that to make room for the primary care expansion and remodeling. So rehab will be staying where it is. It's just going to be on the second floor rather than the first floor. Yeah.
Any other questions for this morning? Yes.
Good morning, Angie Pilgrim with the St. Croix Valley Foundation. Mental health is definitely on our radar, and so two questions that kind of go together. First of all, what type of training do you offer for law enforcement to respond to mental health crises? And what kind of programming are you offering your own self and your employees around mental health?
That's a great question, and I think mental health is definitely something that we've seen an increase in the last several years of at least our response and our situation. So in the state of Wisconsin, you may or may not be aware, in order for someone to have an emergency detention, it has to involve law enforcement. In the state of Minnesota, a ER doc can put somebody into an emergency 72-hour hold. In the state of Wisconsin, it has to be law enforcement in conjunction with our mental health through St. Croix County and their behavioral health system. We do have training for law enforcement. We've provided it through a lot of foundational grants and whatnot to put officers through a 40-hour. There's two different courses. We've been leaning towards a 40-hour course on crisis intervention techniques and really being able to learn how to speak and how to try to de-escalate some of the situations. So those, I can say that not every officer in the county has been trained in that, but we have offered it for several agencies, and it's just a matter of turnover. So we have officers that have done it, and then they leave the agency, and then we have new officers. So we're constantly trying to keep that coming back. And as far as, I guess, the wellness or the mental health for law enforcement, that's become a huge piece. Again, another thing that people probably don't know is that the number of officers that are killed in the line of duty every year, there are actually 2 officers for every 1 officer that's killed in the line of duty that kill themselves, that take their own life. So it is something that we definitely need to pay attention to, and so we have done a lot of just checking in. There's not necessarily one perfect program for that, but just being aware and checking with our officers and doing some of those offerings. We have it's an EPS, employee achievement program? Yeah, EAP, there you go. We have EAP programs that they have access to if they are having difficulties that is provided by the employer, and so we try to make sure that we help them out at every turn.
Thank you. Please join me in giving a huge warm welcome to our speakers today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you all for what you do for this community and the tremendous collaboration and partnerships that you do. And we'd like to just grab a quick photo of you before you leave, so as a group, so don't leave. So thank you again for joining us today. What a lovely day for a picnic morning, right? All right, so maybe we'll do this in October. Okay, so I want to thank Midwest One for sponsoring. I want to thank San Pedro Cafe and Susie for the fabulous rolls. There are plenty. Please take a roll with you, right, Susie? Take a roll.
Take a roll.
Take a roll. Thank you to San Pedro for catering, to Dunn Brothers for the fabulous coffee, and for all of you joining us today. We wish you a great day, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you so much.